Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Aurora City Council's Committee of the Whole meeting. It is Monday, December 21st, 2015. Ms. Martin, please call the roll.
Ms. Barner?
Here.
Ms. Grandillo?
Here.
Mr. Hatridge? Mr. Horvath? Here. Mr. Kovacs?
Present.
Mr. Cudley?
Here.
Ms. McDougall?
Present.
Mr. Baca?
Present.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
All right, thank you. The first thing on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the December 7th, 2015 meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additions, comments, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, those minutes are adopted. The Finance Director's report, Mr. Paul. Last one. Better be a good one. You're supposed to list all those secret funds that you have. Okay.
Cancun Fund.
I didn't write one because obviously we finished the year. We have $1 million. The rest of our funds are all very successful. And I know I don't have to say much more because I know that you've been instructed, you know how to read it, you know how to keep your eye on the cash, you know how to get the tax revenues, and that is the key to the success of the city. So without that, if you see those decreasing substantially, the project that you want to that's the first thing. But he is very good, he's knowledgeable, we had spent today, and I'm sure that's especially with the city. I don't have any.
Any comments or questions? I know there's going to be accolades for you later on in the council meeting, Mr. Paul, but on behalf of the Committee of the Whole and myself as the chairperson, I want to thank you for all of your commitment that you've given to this committee and all the hard work that you put into helping make us understand what's going on inside the city. So thank you very much. Okay. We have one item to add to our new business. It's going to be item I. It's a bid award for the Stonehill Oval Sewer Relief Project. So I need that motion, please.
Second.
It's been moved and second to amend our agenda to include the bid award for Stonehill Oval Sewer Relief Project. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. All right, under new business, we have item A. It's a reappointment to the Earned Income Tax Board of Review. The administration is asking that this go forward for action this evening. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Actually, there was an error in what you passed at the last meeting regarding this appointment. This individual, David Wong, serves on 2 boards. We erroneously appointed him to the other board, which he's already on, at the last meeting. This reappoints him to the position on the Earned Income Tax Board of Review that was actually up for reappointment. Thank you.
Do we have a motion to forward this to council for
So
action?
moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item B is the Housing Revolving Loan Fund Administration Agreement. Again, this is the CHIP program, and it's being asked by the administration to forward this for action this evening. Mr. Paul?
And basically, this is a revolving loan that's generated through the CHIP program on the payment of loans. As you know, in the CHIP program, granted, you can have a loan mixture. As the payments are made and the payment is done, the house is sold, our loans, there's deposit entities, particular fund, and reused in the programs.
We have a motion to forward this.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions from Mr. Paul? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item C under new business is a temporary advance from the general fund for developers escrow. Again, this is being asked by the administration to move forward for action this evening. Mr. Paul?
Yes, any fund that finishes in a negative, we have to reimburse that fund, bring it up to a positive position as required of us. So the developers escrow fund is moving in, so we're asking us to transfer.
Mr. Vaca.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Paul, what exactly is the escrow fund? Who puts the money in it, or does, I thought the developer put it in.
Mr. Paul.
They're required to put a deposit before the project begins. But as the project is ongoing, that deposit goes into the negative, houses, bills, and everything is slowly paid. That's the nature of the development.
So how do we recoup these losses that we're putting into this?
So it's not lost, because when they eventually get it, they'll never open the project or sell the house. They occupancy, John Shrew will be there to ensure that all our dollars
So everything has to be paid up before they get a, okay. Okay, thank you.
However, Mr. Vaca, during the agenda meeting this morning, the mayor and Mr. DePiero indicated that they're working on a solution to kind of apply pressure to the developers to make those payments in a timely fashion before, not after. So they said they would look into that. Okay. All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Horvat?
Thank you. My question's for Mr. Paul.
Yes.
Mr. Paul, I appreciate your explanation with the other part. What do we do in the case of a housing development? As a housing development, may take 2 to 3 years. Are we still waiting 2 to 3 years for all that to come through?
Sure, absolutely. When we put down I'll let John Shrew answer that, because he basically sits on top of the whole program, and I'm constantly on his back, and I see the balance. So John can explain what he does, and ensures that the city receives all of his funds.
Mr. True?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, to the councilman. In that essence, we have several developers that are owed some $30,000-$40,000. They'll come in and pay $23,000, but then they're still $12,000 more. This is ongoing, especially when you have houses that have been going up as quick as we have. And a developer says that, of course, they have to talk to their CFO and everybody else, and they make every excuse not to pay. What we do is actually we've shut down the jobs completely. If a phase is not completed, or if the phase needs to be close to dedication or something, we just shut the job down completely. And the money comes in that way. But we shouldn't have to, go to that resort to do that. But that's what we've done in the last 2 instances to get a large amount of money back. And we have great cooperation with the building department. Well, in the case maybe of a nursing home or something, there will be no final occupancy until it is absolutely complete.
Okay.
That means that all escrow, all funds shall be paid and up to date. Currently, there's a couple of them that were largely outstanding. They paid a good portion, but by the time they paid the portion, then they're still down another $12,000. So we diligently stay on them, and Bob calls me constantly, and Leah's began to call me too. So now I've got 2 of them calling me, and I'm sure Tim's going to call me. And I try to stay on developers, but it's not easy, because what in essence we're discussing with the mayor and law director. Maybe we can up that instead of $5,000 for their developments. It has to be in somewhere 10 to 12,000 or more, and that'll be some discussions to get more money up front, so they're not building with our money and using it.
Right. And as an extreme, I had suggested this morning that we even demand that escrow payment prior to the issuing of a building permit. That would really get their attention. So, Mr. Wolf, you had a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is open either to the law director or Mr. True. Would we be in a position to add incrementally increasing fees from a timeliness standpoint? If they aren't paid, we just auto increment on a percentage basis?
Mr. DePiero?
Mr. Chairman, Councilman Wolf, we spoke about this morning, and Director Paul and I have looked at this over the last few months, because I get copies of the late payments and who owes. And I am looking at our ordinances right now, and I'm going to take a look at some other growing cities. I think this is partially some growing pains going on here. We've had a lot of activity in the last couple of years, and it's coming up more and more because there is so much activity. But I think we need to tighten things up a little bit as far as ordinances go, and continue to push. I think at the end of the day, the money gets paid, but it gets paid late, so that's a fair question whether we should be charging interest and fees, those types of things.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Any other comments or questions? Do we have a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to forward this to council for action this evening. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item D under new business is a transfer of surplus from the general fund. Mr. Paul.
Again, I promise you $1 million for the last 2 months, and set it out to so transfer $1 million to $1,000 shows you the stability of the city still needs the general fund with an amount that's in excess of what we started with 2015, which brings us in good stead with the rating agencies and protecting our branches that we see. Our cash position is still stable and we're still generating surplus.
Any comments or questions? We have a motion to forward this to council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to forward to council for action this evening. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item E under new business is the 2015 final appropriations, and this is being asked to be forwarded to council for action this evening. Mr. Paul.
Yes, this is that creation of the state again. All expenditures of the city have to be appropriated prior to their expenditure. In the past history of the city of Aurora, most cities have always approved total expenditures after they close the books for the year. They went in January, the first meeting in January. They basically all of the prior year's expenditures. The state has indicated that that's not acceptable. It means you must appropriate the dollars sufficient to meet all of your expenses prior to the year. Well, our budget process that we use in the park is very, very tight. And so we have the problems that if there's extensive overtime and service and snow plow, police department, fire department, that we run into, we can very well run into problems that exceed our appropriation. So what we do is come here every year end and we make some artificial estimated numbers. They say we're gonna add these to the appropriations that you began the year. And we will not utilize those funds as necessary, but we do run out of money. This is done for the simple reason that if we don't do that, we are following violation of the city. So there's that spending. So we make these appropriations.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vaca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Paul, what happens if we don't, let's just say, service? We don't use $25,000 for plowing roads. It's obvious it's not going to happen this week, and maybe not next week. What happens to that money that go back into the?
Just disappears. It's not encumbered, any funds are not encumbered, it just goes right back into the general fund balance.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So all of these expenditures that expire, if we don't use them at all, just actually go back into the cash balance of that fund.
See, he said it disappeared, so he does have those secret funds. We're watching this, Mr. Paul. Okay. Okay. We have a motion yet.
So,
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to forward this to council for action this evening. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item F is the 2016 annual budget. The administration is asking that this be forwarded to council for its first reading this evening. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I did send this out in Friday's mail. I know some of you had not received it yet as of this morning. Is there anyone who hasn't received it in the mail, just out of curiosity? Because we did provide, you really haven't. We did provide copies here, though. But you will certainly have ample time to review this. But let me just go over some highlights for you. And first, I want to look back on 2015, which we're finishing. Virtually all departments expect to finish the year under budget. I will warn you that overtime cost is, alas, over budget. but we had a horrible winter. And I guess I would moderate that by saying we are looking at overtime and we're watching overtime. And in fact, when the nice weather persisted into some weekends this fall and we were having trouble keeping up with leaf pickup, we actually talked about it and authorized overtime for maybe 3 days during the week to get that leaf pickup more on schedule. So we are talking about it. Everyone is aware of it. And in fact, the personnel director is working with a couple of the departments to see how we can improve the overtime usage. Healthcare costs are expected to be about 5.5% under budget for 2015. And although the 2016 healthcare budget is higher than 2015, we do expect savings ultimately from bigger discounts and from employee contributions, which fully phase in next year in 2016. We are working on controlling costs in a variety of ways. I mentioned some of the things the Director of Personnel was doing. She is also looking at vacation policies for some potential cost savings. Giving you just a quick 2016 budget summary, the general fund proposed expense budget is 2.6% more than 2015, and the anticipated revenue is about a 4.1% increase over 2015. My priorities are sidewalks, infrastructure, stormwater, and park improvements, and these are reflected in the budget. For connectivity, we have a little over 167,000 budgeted, and we are still engineering some of phase 2, and we're working on easements in a piece of phase 1, I think. But anyway, we have projections into a phase 3 that we are working on. For the water lines, we have $1.2 million allocated for Harmon Road, for which we have already paid for the engineering this year. And we're trying to work it in such a way that the Harmon Road water line and the Shawnee water line will be done about the same time, and perhaps we'll get a break. And we took that money from from money we had in existing funds, including an old allotment line that still had $600-some thousand in it. Road paving, we have $1.3 million, and we will also be using public funds for the 4382 paving and the California Street project. That also includes about $100,000 of concrete repair work. For stormwater, we have $200,000 to begin possible projects after the final Stantec evaluations are completed. For park improvements, there is a major project reflected in the budget coming out of the Ad Hoc Rec Committee, which Councilman Scott Wolf chaired. It is a multi-year project at Hartman Farm to develop an athletic complex. This may well be a $1.3 or $4 million project. I have allocated about $350,000 in 2016 for some engineering, 2 to 4 soccer and baseball fields, and parking in the front of the property to the south of the house. This is a major project, and I think it's very exciting that we face this opportunity. 2016 capital requests are up 2.6% over 2015. As Bob mentioned, we are using our surplus to do things that we need and want to address. We're transferring $1.2 million to the Capital Improvements Fund for use on many projects. Some of those other projects are $80,000 police station updates, a $225,000 sweeper Vector truck for the service department to help us in our pipe cleaning efforts, and certainly that's part of our stormwater effort. $350,000 for the Hartman Athletic Fields, $50,000 for a senior transportation vehicle that I'll talk about in a minute, and $50,000 for the Sunny Lake Park dam repairs. And just to give you a brief rundown of some of the things that were accomplished in 2015, we moved and restored the Deed House, and that's almost complete. We're going to work on the park surrounding it. But that was about $65,000, all budgeted largely through, I think, the Spring Hill line. The golf course river restoration has been mostly completed. That was fully funded at almost $826,000. The Sunny Lake Park improvements of about $411,000 were completed. Sidewalks, engineering and installation for over $111,000. Road paving, we had $741,000. And stormwater, we spent about $108,000, mostly on engineering costs. It also includes about $40,000 that you will be asked to approve and encumber for the Stonehill Oval repiping project. Going back to the 2016 budget, salaries and wages include union increases of about 2.25 and 2.5% generally. Non-union increases are 2.5%. And as I said, 2016 is the first year in which all employees will be contributing to their health care costs. Clerical service and firefighters begin January 1st. Key items, some of which I may have already mentioned, include the Harmon water line, $1.2 million, stormwater work, $200,000, plus the $225,000 for the sweeper Vector truck, $167,000 toward sidewalks. And by the way, there's an additional $15,000 in the budget for the hike and bike trail that we're still working on with the county parks. Road paving, $1.3 million. A new rescue squad for $220,000. A backup generator at the State Route 43 pump station for $400,000. Two new programs, one of which involves the senior vehicle that I spoke about. I would like to start and really think the city needs to provide this amenity, a senior transportation program, and we've looked at other communities and really tried to figure out how we could do this most economically. We don't expect to hire any full-time people. We're hoping, I think, that someone that we already have can help with the scheduling, but we will also work out a system where we charge residents, at least partially charge residents for this service. And so included in the $75,000 are a vehicle, a new vehicle, it'll be a smaller vehicle, and part-time salaries for drivers. In addition, there is a sidewalk repair program that's included, totally unrelated to the connectivity that I talked about earlier. As you know, many of our older neighborhoods have sidewalks that, some of which need to be repaired. By ordinance, the residents are supposed to keep those up. It is costly and challenging, I think, for many of them to do that. This would provide $50,000 on a first-come, first-served basis to share in the cost with the resident, 50-50, and we can just see how it works. And the city would bid the project so that there would be savings, I think, through that as well. It's a nominal amount, really, but I'd like to see how this would work and what the response is. And finally, there is a $30,000 contribution to library building improvements. We haven't seen the exact plan yet, but we're working with the Library Trust on that. And $12,000 to the food pantry on a monthly, $1,000 a month. In personnel, the police, sergeants, dispatch, and non-union raises are 2.5%. Clerical and service range from 1.52 to 3.1%, and fire is at 2.25%. We are filling an open service inspector position. It's vacant, but it's there. It's not creating a new position. And making a planning, zoning, building inspector full-time. This position was full-time previously. It was cut back several years ago. We would be making it full-time at mid-year. These are, I've gone over and over this with our service director and planning, zoning, building director. Our business is really picking up in terms of construction, and we can't keep up. And we want to keep things moving. We want to continue to promote what we have tried to build as a business-friendly community, and keeping people waiting on construction inspections and things like that does not help maintain that reputation. So I feel these are two things that we need, and certainly the respective directors do as well. So ultimately, I appreciated talking to each one of you about your budget concerns and your budget priorities. I think there is something in here for everyone, and I think it is a budget that works hard to balance the needs of our community with the wants of our community. Thank you.
Comments or questions? Mr. Baca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Mayor, a couple of things. Backup generator for State Route 43 pump station. Isn't that the county's responsibility?
Mr. True.
Mr. President, to the councilman, the county fails to do that. The county did not incorporate a backup generator switch and are not required to by EPA. Even though every other generator station, pump station that is built requires one, the EPA granted them relief because we have to turn 7 valves and then we can be totally on Portage County water if that station goes out. But to me, and I've discussed it with the mayor, that's not acceptable. Often when we lose power and everything else, which would shut down those, it'd be in the middle of the night, middle of a snowstorm, or worse, a tornado. And for us to access those 7 valves, even though we painted them, we've practiced, we've done it twice without any notice to people. But I think twice is enough, and we do need that generator, and that's the reason we can't wait on the county. Once again, if we did, we'll never get it. They applied for that variance so they didn't have to do it, and I don't know how they were successful. They should have been. I argued against it when the station was built, that they needed to put it in, but did not win an argument.
Well, can we negotiate with the 3 ladies in power to maybe go half on it? Number 2.
Mr. Baca.
Hartman property, I understand that the arboretum may be moved, may not even be put where it was suggested. I'm not sure if I'm in favor of moving it or replacing it. Is that in fact a suggestion, or is it part of it?
Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vaca, I don't know where it may have moved from in recent discussion, but the fact is that would not be done next year anyway, but it's still on.
Still in planning?
It's still on the plan, yes.
Okay. The other thing is, the third concern, you mentioned trails. You and I and Mr. Justin and Mr. True discussed about making a hike, bike, all-purpose trail for Picnic Lake Park, not only for pedestrians, but for police, fire, and service to connect to Aurora Lake Road. Is that a possibility in this budget? I don't see it. I'd like to see something earmarked toward that because we need to connect the neighborhood from Fire Station 2 to Nautilus Trail. I said this before, Aurora Lake Road may not be in that shape it is now, maybe a year or so from now. Even if the way it's built now, it takes that truck another 3 minutes to come down Aurora Lake Road via 43. This connector that we talked about would be a godsend for the residents on Nautilus Trail, for the police department, and for the service department. But we need to get something in the budget to start on that as soon as possible.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vaca, it is not in this budget, as we discussed a couple weeks ago.
Right.
We like the idea. There are going to be issues in the engineering of it and in the ultimate construction of it, but it's certainly something that I will plan on in the next couple of years.
Okay, well, the engineering, yeah, I understand. I understand the topo of the property there, but still, we lost another access, but that's from here to there. But really, we need to get on this as soon as we can within the next year or so. This has been a long time overdue that these two connectors be put in, these two neighborhoods be connected. We talked about connectivity back in the 80s. Back in the 80s and 90s, we talked about connecting neighborhoods with neighborhoods. South Sussex, for example, was one that connected it to Robin and Sherwood, and so on and so forth. This is an opportunity to do it. If we don't start on this budget, we definitely need to start on it in the next budget. I think that's, I like the idea of the sidewalk repair, 50-50. I don't feel it's fair that we should pick up the whole bill. And I think that's one way to get some of these sidewalks fixed. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Barner.
Thank you, Councilman Cudley. And thank you, Mayor. There's a lot of exciting things for 2016, and I commend the connectivity. Obviously, we see the sidewalks now, and it'll be exciting to see additional sidewalks. So it's very exciting to see that coming up again in 2016. I'm also thrilled, although it's not part of my ward, the money going to stormwater at Stonehill Oval. I think that's fantastic for the residents back there. So I really appreciate that to be very much contributed to them. So I did want to add that. And then finally as well, I'm very interested in seeing the concept that you have with the sidewalk of the share 50-50. So maybe once it comes closer, you can extrapolate how that will work on, will it be someone just contacting City Hall, contacting whoever it may be, because I'd be interested in seeing how the first come, first basis works. So if you have any info on that to share with us, I'd be interested in hearing about that, and if not this evening, then in the future. Thank you.
Ms. McDougall.
Thank you, Councilman Cudley. Again, I would like to reiterate a lot of the same things Councilman Farner said. Glad to see connectivity, stormwater, water. I did have a couple questions. Well, before I go to that, thank you. It's been great working with Councilman Wolf, and good to see that that's progressing at the Hartman Farm. The $75,000 for the senior, is that the projected cost without the fees, or is that the projected cost after the fees?
Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. McDougall, we did not figure fees into that.
So that's a high-end cost.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Although, I mean, we have to have a vehicle up front, so we have to pay for that. But we should see some reimbursements down the road.
Okay. And then on the sidewalk repair, this is something I've been beating a drum about for a long time because it's definitely an issue in my neighborhood, as well as Ward 6 Seasons, which I was a part of. I think we need to keep in mind that a lot of these sidewalk issues are the result of the wrong trees being planted in the tree lawns, and to not throw money at an issue that's going to come back if the trees aren't dealt with. So I appreciate the fact that arborist cut some of the roots to kind of delay that, but I think we need to have the discussion with the homeowners. If the tree is an issue, and we're throwing money, or we're asking them to throw money to fix the sidewalk, and 3 or 4 years later it becomes an issue again because that tree is just too big for that tree lawn, how do we deal with that? The root of the problem, might not be might not be the sidewalk after all. It might be the tree. So I just wish that as we proceed in that, and I am glad you're doing something, that we keep that issue in mind as we proceed with that. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. We need a motion to forward this to council for its first reading. So
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to forward to council. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. And of course, we'll have a lot more discussion on the budget in the weeks to come. Item G under the new business is 2016 pavement condition ratings report and map. Mr. True.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We're requesting to enter into contract with GPD to have, who we have a general services agreement, to provide a systematic pavement rating of all public roads, City of Aurora, and this will base our capital needs on once we have the condition rating data collected, will enable us to proceed our paving program and have the data readily available for grants, so we leverage all funds in the best interest of the citizens. In the past, our pavement condition rating wasn't necessarily on the same system as PCR as the ODOT, which in turn was a little harder for the grants. Now we're going to put it on the same PCR as the ODOT. Starts out with 100, then you deduct. It's the exact same system. So that's what we're asking GPD to do. And the not to exceed $29,850 provide us a map and rate every single mile of our streets.
And council is being asked to forward this to forward this to council for action this evening. And it's my understanding we want to encumber the money in the 2015 budget for that, correct? Right. Shaking your head yes. Okay. Mr. Vaca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. True, or whoever wants to answer this. In the past, the service director has gone around and he has evaluated the roads, which one was A, B, and C. And in the past, the previous mayors have overrode his expertise on this. They got their roads paved what they wanted paved. I'm not this Mr. Benjamin, I don't believe that's happening here. But I'm going further back, and I see a former mayor out there too. But the problem is I think Mr. True has the expertise to do this, and he's done it. Unfortunately, he's been overruled. I remember Fairview Road, I had to argue the point to get it done, and they finally did it after the fact. I don't think we need this personally, and I think I'm going to vote no on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vaca. Mayor, did you want to respond?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vaca, Mr. True and I have gone around and around on this, and I believe this is important information to have for the city as we spend significant dollars on paving our roads. I think we have a rating that he did do. I think it's a couple years old at this point. I've been asking him all year to do another one. Frankly, he doesn't have the time, and he wants to standardize the ratings so that we are in sync with ODOT, and as he said, better able potentially to get grant money. As far as the overriding question, we certainly have talked about roads to be paved, but you're right, I do rely on his expertise, and the only thing that in the last 2 years that we've really discussed at any great length is where two roads are in equal disarray, and we don't have enough funds to do both, so then we kind of juggle or talk about options to address the needs of both, for instance. So I think we have a good relationship on the road paving issue.
Right. Mr. Vaca?
Mr. Chairman, to continue, do you honestly believe ODOT is going to, look at Route 43. Look how deplorable it's been for the last 4 or 5 years since the water line went in. That should have been fixed immediately. Look at Orchard Avenue since the water line went in. That is deplorable. We're finally going to work on California Street. I went up Robin Hood Sherwood a couple of times. Those are deplorable. You don't need a scientist to say these roads are bad. They need to be fixed. It's as simple as that. That's why I'm not in favor of this.
Thank you, Mr. Vaca. Mr. Wolf?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. True, this is something that we do one time, correct? We're not looking at doing this every year. Would this give us a baseline for the ODOT ratings?
Mr. True?
Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Wolf, this is something every 5 years. We used to do it in-house, and once we get an inspector back, once we do this one time right now, we'll be able to stay on top of it again, and this inspector will be trained to do this. What we used before was a PACER system, which was a downscaled from the actual PCR rating that the county and state and ODOT. So this will be our own rating system. We'll have it. It'll be all digitized, and we have much more better technical competence with the addition of Corey over in the planning department and so forth. We can track this. Yes, it's a one-time. This should be good for 5 years, and within the next 5 years, we can start again on redoing them every so many years, and we can stay on top of it.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is to Councilman Vaca's point with respect to things that may have happened in the past. This would be, and I mean, this is an independent. This is not anybody inside the city. And I'm not honest. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not questioning any ratings that you would do. All I'm saying is this is completely independent. Wouldn't be influenced by anybody inside of the city, and would be autonomous. Correct?
Mr. Chairman to the council.
Yes.
That's correct, and you're using a standardized system to do that rating. Second.
Mr. Kovach?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chu, criteria, is that included? When you say you're going to fix a street, pave a street, what is actually the criteria? Because the streets aren't the same.
Mr.
Like
True?
in my ward, they're not the same as 43 and elsewhere.
Mr. Chairman, to the council, everyone starts with a rating of 100, and then after that 100, it's deducted for each alligator crack, whether it's a lateral or it's linear crack, whether it's total deteriorated pavement, whether it's total base is gone. That assessment is given for every individual street on the same basis. So then a numerical factor is coming, and then different treatments. You can try made it to the street, whether it's just a mill and fill. Some of them will be total rebuilds. And they're going to score 30s and 20s. And the rest of them will be in 50s and 60s. Then you assess them, and then numerically you correct them. And some years they'll change as you reevaluate. But that's the way. It's a standardized, and you're correct. They're not all the same. They don't all wear the same. The north end gets maybe more snow than the south end. So that is true.
Thank you.
Thank you. Need a motion to forward this to council for action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. We have several more items, and it's already 7 o'clock, so we need to move along. Item H is a water rate study. Mr. True?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is a water rate study, and we're having a rural community assistance program to help us out, and we're going to examine the finances, rates management, and planning for capital improvements. What we'll do in the study, we'll examine average flows, determine if their rates are substantial for the future. The rate study will evaluate fair and equitable rates. We'll examine communities around us with those fair and equitable rates, along with our utilization fee. And remember, the rate structure must cover all costs produce, treat, store, and distribute water. So the operation, maintenance, and administrative costs must be examined. So we're going to take a look at this and make sure it's sustainable throughout the years to come. It's often hard to look at this, but it needs to be done. And this will be done by the Rural Community Assistance Program. And I've got them to do it for $20,000. I had some quotes last year for the same project for over $120,000. So I think it's a great program. It's great to partner with this nonprofit that has helped us out in the past.
Thank you, sir. Need a motion to forward this to council for action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. The last item of new business is the bid award for the Stonehill Oval sewer relief, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
it's a
Chair.
Stonehill Oval Relief Project. It will not relieve all flooding, but it'll reduce flooding substantially in the area. It is a relief storm sewer going on the outside of the houses. And the lowest and best bid was for Greasy Trucking for $39,890, and we recommend this bid be accepted to take the water out of Stonehill Oval. On the 14th, we had 4 feet of water on there, so anything we could do to help these homeowners out and reduce this flooding in this part of the city would be substantial. It's the public road that was flooded, so that's what we need.
Mr. Vaca?
Yeah, real quick, could we not foresee this when we were building this place?
Mr. Troop?
I believe when they're building it, they're only built to the five-year standards, and even the 10-year would not foresee this. You know, that 100-year flood we had, actually 200-year flood, and the 100-year we had the year before. This would help in those type of events, and we are more reoccurring rainstorms and such frequent events and such substantial. So this will help, you know, in those greater events than the 10 and 20 year. There's still, if they still have a 100 or 200-year storm, it's still going to flood,
Thank you.
it'll reduce it.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to add, we've been dealing with flooding issues in several places across the city over the last 2 years. This is one that we've really focused on because it has been recurrent and significant in this public roadway. And I think we have something that certainly should moderate the water flow into Stonehill Oval. But also adding to what Mr. True said, when Mr. True and Mr. Check, went back and looked at the plans, there apparently was a pipe that was changed, not by the city or at the city's insistence, but probably by the local landscape architect or builder. And that's something we're also addressing that is part of this project.
And I need a motion to forward this to council for action.
Still moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. That's the end of our new business agenda. Under miscellaneous, one item, 9/11 changes. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. As I mentioned to you 2 weeks ago, we have been working on options for our 911 service in Aurora. The state and county are changing how this is handled, and just before Thanksgiving, the County 911 Committee decided that Aurora calls would now be answered by Streetsboro. That was contrary to what the chiefs wanted. We are very concerned about a delay in the relay, and any delay can certainly adversely impact our emergency situations. In addition, to make a long story short, as you know, we've been accumulating funding in our 911 fund, and learned as we were, trying to make other arrangements, learned that we would forfeit that funding in all likelihood at the end of this year. We have identified a system. It's with AT&T. It's a system that we were looking at doing, I think, with Streetsboro, but we're not going to do that now. And we would need new equipment anyway to answer our landline calls, as well as the cell calls. This system and 5 years of maintenance can be paid for out of the fund that we've accumulated, and that's what will be recommended to you at council this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.